Everyone should know, and I think they do, how truly gentle a man he was, and how prayerful he was, and how loving he was.
During my service here, I confess to being goggle-eyed by all he accomplished. I thanked him every time I saw him for two gifts that he left me. First, he put the Archdiocese on a very solid foundation. Secondly, he attracted very gifted people to work with him. I always tried to reassure him that my first priority was not to screw it up.
He had that great balance of courage and humility. He was a humble man in many ways, but he was also very courageous. And for any of us, it's always hard to confront or deal with challenging situations, and yet he knew he had to have the courage to do it. And he did it out of love. He did it out of the love of the person he was serving, and I think that's what gave him the courage. And I think he instilled that in me, to remember why we do the challenge and why it's important to have the courage. The courage comes from the love of the people we're serving.
Archbishop Beeklein probably was one of the most insightful leaders that I ever met. He had a keen sense of being able to get to know people, kind of figuring out what was needed. And then he also had the leadership capability to carry it out. Once he decided that we might want to do something, we did it.
Archbishop leadership style was very selective, and once he made that delegation or that responsibility to a person, he really relied on that. You knew you had total authority on your job. He expected you to do the work.
Well, at the very beginning, he made a big statement that he was committed to Catholic schools, so that went a long way. And then we were able to utilize that statement and take him around to all the schools, introduce him, and he had a style about him that the children responded to. He was very gentle, very warm. Our enrollment numbers were very important to him, that we were serving the poor, that we were not losing out our anchors that we had, in our neighborhoods of the poor areas.
In order to do ministry, you need resources. So he was very cognizant of the need for somebody in his position, namely the Archbishop, to be involved in development and fundraising. He wasn't afraid to do that because he taught us, if you want to do ministry, you have to have the resources to do it.
He would go before business, corporate owners, and to say, we need your help to keep these schools going. He wasn't afraid to do that, and together with many of those businesses, we raised money to keep those schools going.
Archbishop Beeklein saw the need for a college seminary close by for our seminarians and started the college seminary. It was a bold, bold decision at the time because seminaries and other institutions of that sort were closing right and left, and here he was starting a brand new seminary. He often said, I hope they don't call this Beeklein's Folly. Well, it wasn't Beeklein's Folly because it's full now and thriving.
At my ordination as a bishop, he held up my prayer card, for those of you there may remember, but he held up my prayer card and he said, what is this, your first communion picture?
For us, he was always Uncle Mark first, and although his obligations as Archbishop were many, his presence with the family was always felt.
He was always great about sending cards for birthdays and any occasion, and he always signed them with prayer, U Mark. He abbreviated the uncle as, with a capital U. And to us, he was our uncle first, and he was a priest and a bishop and an archbishop second.
One special story I have of Uncle Mark was I had just turned 16 and gotten our driver's license. He had invited my older brother, John, to go on our first road trip with him. Having just got my license, as we were driving to the desert, I happened to get my first speeding ticket. And his comments were to me is that if you don't tell your mother, I won't either. And so you just work it out.
Around Thanksgiving or Christmas, we would often have family mass. They were very intimate times. You felt very close to him and to God in those instances. And when he was in Memphis as Bishop of Memphis, he brought Mother Teresa and her nuns to Memphis, and we had the opportunity to meet Mother Teresa.
He wanted to always host things in his home, meetings and different leadership projects, and he was proud to do that, and he felt that that just put a personal touch on whatever you were working on.
He kind of really became like a brother to me in some ways. My children gave me a surprise 60th birthday party, and we were partying, coming in, and here he struts in. Big hat on his head, acting silly, had a gift. It was really just made my night, made my day.
I think he left us a great legacy of being a humble, courageous, prayerful shepherd in the image of Jesus Christ. He was always trying to point to Jesus Christ. That's why he was such a man of prayer, such a man of faith.
Prayer is not simply talking. Prayer is listening. So I think that he was accustomed to listen and make informed and prudent decisions. I think that prayer gave him the strength at times to face apparently insurmountable obstacles. And finally, I think that quiet place that he, went to every day, gave him the energy that he needed to lead this archdiocese.
He always stressed how important it was to be a man of prayer, and I believe he lived up to that. I know several of us have received letters in the last day or two that were sent out after his death, but obviously composed before his death, in which he related to us a prayer that he had said every day for a happy death.
He had a special blessing that he would always say, and at the end of it, he would always say, "May God grant you peace of heart and mind and soul." And even just, in one of the last times I saw him, and when he was not able to speak very much anymore, was very frail, I said, "Uncle Mark, will you give us your blessing?" And, he was able to do that still. That still was with him.
After a stroke, it's been tough. And I think that throughout that process, it was a testament to his faith. I don't think he ever said, "Why me?" So it was the cross that God sent his way, and he bore it. And in the end, I think he was ready. I think that he had known that he had, fought the good fight and had done his best to honor God.
The one that we all follow says the greatest love is the one who lays down his or her life for their friends. Daniel's was a life that way. That I think, beyond the nearly 20 years of leadership here and the 5 years in Memphis, even that final 7 years was self-giving. That example of disinterested love and sacrifice unto the end is a great gift to all of us.